Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the winter campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. We're all set to get into this campaign after the intro yesterday, where we set the scene for the winter campaign being the Innsmouth Conspiracy, but we're going to go through a little bit more of the story, so let's get started with the intro.
In the deep, they thrive. It was a town of wide extent and dense construction, yet one with a pretentious dearth of visible life. H.P. Lovecraft, The Shadow over Innsmouth.
And now we've got the scenario intro.
Scenario 1, The Pit of Despair. Your eyes flutter open with the languor of one who has slept for days on end. Your senses are in no hurry to return. You blink and struggle through the inky black surrounding you. Every inch of you aches with dull, throbbing pain. Your skin is cold and numb, and your clothes are waterlogged. Your mind swims with half-articulated thoughts and tangled memories. You have no idea where you are or how you got here. You snap to attention, heart racing in your chest. You lie on a jagged stone floor in a shallow pool of dark, ice-cold water. Knowing panic will only make the situation worse, you take a series of deep, meditative breaths. You try to remember something, anything, that might allow you to retrace your steps, but your mind is blank. You remember who you are, but nothing whatsoever from the recent past. You steady yourself and examine your surroundings. The chamber appears to be a natural cave formation. Kelp dangles from the ceiling. The stone walls and floor are wet and slimy. A rhythmic drip, drip, drip echoes throughout the otherwise silent cave. This cavern has been underwater, and not too long ago. A result of the tides, perhaps? You swallow your fear like a lump of cold iron. If it is low tide now, a cold shudder ripples up your spine. You examine the ceiling and are surprised to see a slab of metal set into the rough stone overhead. Its polished surface is alien to the rest of the natural cavern. You call out for help, hoping somebody can hear. Your dread deepens at the reply, an awful croaking and gurgling that permeates the tunnels, a sound no human could make.
Ah yes, just another day at the office where we have to deal with some inhuman threat. But let's remind everyone what our tarot reading was. On the good side, we left the Hermit 9, which increases in each investigator's maximum hand size by 3. So hand size in this scenario is 11, not 8 like normal. Whereas on the bad side, we flipped Justice 11, which means the final agenda of the game will enter play with one doom on it. Let's go through our starting hands next. Nathaniel will be our lead investigator for the scenario. So he'll come with his ally, his signature ally right away. Randall Cho, concerned brother. 2 costs to play, will lore wildcard on commit. Reaction after he enters play, heal 3 damage or search your deck or discard pile for a weapon asset, play it, paying its cost, and shuffle your deck. 1 health, 3 sanity on soak, and takes up the ally slot. Then we've got Safeguard. 2 costs to play, will on commit. Reaction after another investigator moves from your location to a connecting location, exhaust Safeguard to move with them. Then we've got Vicious Blow, which you guys have seen before. If you're a regular on the channel, you'll recognize this card, or you play the game. Combat on commit, and if it's successful during an attack, the attack deals +1 damage. Next we have Monster Slayer. Fight, the attack does +1 damage. 0 cost to play, wildcard on commit. And we have a copy of 1-2 Punch. 2 cost to play, combat on commit. Fight with +1 combat for the attack. If you succeed, you may fight again. You get +2 combat and deal +1 damage for that attack, but you have to fight the same enemy. Akachi's opening hand I'm not as happy with, but it's functional. First up, we've got a copy of Arcane Initiate. 1 cost to play, will on commit. Forced. After Arcane Initiate enters play, place 1 doom on it. As a fast action, exhaust Arcane Initiate to search the top 3 cards of your deck for a spell card and draw it. Shuffle your deck. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak, and takes the ally slot. Then we've also got a copy of Spirit. We also got her Spirit Speaker. Envoy of the Aluzi. 2 cost to play, will, lore, wildcard on commit. As an action, exhaust it to choose an asset you control with uses, charges. Either return that asset to your hand or move all charges from that asset to your resource pool as resources and discard that asset. Then we've got a familiar spirit, another ally, so Akachi is going to need a charisma pretty quick. 1 cost to play, will on commit. You have 1 additional arcane slot, which can only be used to hold a spell. 1 health, 1 sanity on soak. Then we've got a copy of Wither. 2 cost to play, combat on commit. As an action, fight, using will instead of combat. If you pull a bad symbol during the attacked enemy gets -1 fight and -1 evade for the remainder of the turn to a minimum of 1. That actually might not be as useful as I thought it was, because I was thinking that would work for Nathaniel as well. So essentially, where my mind was going with that, and somebody can probably correct me on that, it also takes an arcane slot. Where I was going with that is, okay, I use Akachi to deal a bit of damage to it, soften it up for Nathaniel, but if it's only for the turn, then that might not work the way I thought it did. And last up, we've got the ever-familiar Shriveling. Once again, if you're a regular on the channel or play the game, you've probably seen this card before. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Uses 4 charges, which is also known as 5 for Akachi. As an action, to spend 1 charge to fight, using will instead of combat and deal +1 damage. But if you pull a bad symbol during the attack, take 1 horror. Next, let's go through our Act and Agenda decks. Agenda 1A, Awakening. A salmon lays dead on the ground nearby, its scaly flesh just starting to rot. You can tell from the kelp and dripping wet walls that this cavern was underwater not too long ago. How much time do you have before high tide? Forced. When your turn begins, if you're at a fully flooded location, you struggle for air. When your turn ends, if you did not enter an unflooded or partially flooded location during your turn, take 5 direct damage. Yowza. So basically you're drowning and fighting for air. And as far as our first act, we have the Pit. You have awakened in a waterlogged cavern, your mind robbed of its memories, and you're not alone. Whatever else lives in this cavern, it can't possibly be friendly. You have to get out of this place and back to civilization. 3 clues per investigator, or 6 clues to advance. The agenda needs 7 clues to advance. Now we can head over to the map and see what we're up against, as our investigators will also head in that direction. For now, I think we'll be able to lay the investigators down flat, but I don't know how long that's going to last. But we've got orthogonal adjacency for the scenario, and I've got a frog in my throat that I'm probably going to need to see to before we get into this scenario. But we'll take a look at their starting location, the unfamiliar chamber. 3 branching tunnels open before you, each swathed in darkness. A foul odor like that of decaying fish permeates the tunnels, and this flips into unfamiliar chamber, shroud of 3, 2 clues. Forced. After unfamiliar chamber is revealed, randomly choose one of the set-aside face-down keys and place it on unfamiliar chamber without looking at it. So I shuffled up 3 of these keys beforehand. I shuffled these keys up while I was setting up last night. We're using fancy keys from Orbits along with our other tokens. As always, link to the special components I use will be in the description down below. We need the 2 clues for that. So now that we're all set up, I think we can get into this scenario right away. So let's move down to Nathaniel first, and as our lead investigator, and we'll move down into his play area. Since I tend to operate on the principle of my monster punch, of liking my monster puncher being able to defend himself, we're going to go with that plan. Action 1, he's going to take a resource, since I don't remember exactly how much the asset we're going to be playing costs. Action 2, we're going to spend 2 resources to play out Randall. You got to give this up to Nathaniel. Sooner or later, you're going to get yourself killed. And as soon as he enters play in the ally slot, we can either heal 3 damage, but he's at full strength, but we're actually going to search his deck for a weapon, and I want the boxing gloves, which do count as a weapon, so we'll take a look at those. I'll be paying the cost for those in a second. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. You get +1 combat while fighting. Reaction, after you defeat an enemy, exhaust boxing gloves to search the top 6 cards of your deck for a spirit event and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So we'll pay for that, and we'll give this a shuffle. That's actually really strong for 1 action. And then for action 3, Nathaniel will take a resource. So as far as I'm concerned, he's all set to go. That will do it for Nathaniel. Now let's move over to Akachi. Akachi, however, is not as set as Nathaniel is. Her first action will hopefully help out with that, so she'll be paying a resource to play out her Arcane Initiate, and we do have to put a Doom on her. So there's the Doom for the Arcane Initiate, and I'm immediately going to exhaust her to go look for a spell. I'm hoping to find a clue of a gathering spell. 1, 2, 3. There we are. First up is an Azure Flame, which is another combat spell. I don't need that. Second up is an Ethereal Slip, which we could also take. I'll look at all these spells in a second. Third up, Read the Signs. So we do have options on all of them. So let's take a look at all 3 spells. Azure Flame is 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Uses 4, turns into 5 charges. As an action, spend a charge to fight using will instead of combat and deal +1 damage. But if you reveal a good symbol, take 1 damage. Next up we have Ethereal Slip. 2 cost to play, will, agility on commit. Choose a non-elite enemy at a revealed location up to 2 connections away. Swap places with that enemy. And the spell I think we're going to take, Read the Signs. 2 cost to play, lore, will on commit. Investigate plus will to your skill value for this investigation. You may ignore any effect or keyword on your location which would trigger during this investigation. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at your location. But yeah, I think that is the spell we're going to take. I would have rather had a clairvoyance there, but given that we need to get clues right off the bat, I'm going to grab that. And then action 2 will be to spend 2 resources to play the aforementioned Read the Signs. So now we'll take a look at the flavor text. A grisly future is laid before you. Do you turn away or do you embrace it? Akachi's up 4 on this. Skull can't be good. Skull is -1. -2 instead if your location is partially flooded. -3 if your location is fully flooded. So we definitely don't fail, and we get both of those clues. Remember, we need 6 to advance. And I believe keys we can take as a fast action if there are no clues, right? Yes. So they're similar to keys as we've seen them before, which means Akachi will gain control of this key. She'll gain the red key, which could come into play later. I think for now, just a hair too big, so I'm going to put the key in front of her for now. Then for Akachi's third action, she's going to draw a card. So Akachi will draw another probably the Azure Flame that we shuffled away earlier. Not that I'm real happy with that, but that will do it for Akachi. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase being the first turn of the game, there are no enemies in play. So we can go ahead and reset everything. And we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel and Akachi will each gain 1 resource and go to 3. Nathaniel will draw. Second Wind, 1 cost to play, will on commit. Play only as your first action. Heal 1 damage, 2 instead if you drew a treachery this round, then draw 1 card. Akachi will draw. Meditative Trance, 2 cost to play, will lore on commit. For each of your arcane slots that's filled, either heal 1 damage or 1 horror. That's unexhausted as well, the Arcane Initiate I'm talking about. Mythos phase, first Doom on the agenda, but we're actually up to 2 in play because of the Arcane Initiate. Nathaniel will draw. Swarm of Rats, 1 combat, 1 health, 3 evade value, hunter. A horde of cruel rats skitters forth in an undulating wave of claws, teeth, and mottled fur. That should be no problem for him to deal with. Akachi will draw. Deep One Assault. Revelation, Deep One, disengage from each Deep One enemy at your location. Each Deep One enemy at your location and each connecting location engages you. If no enemies engage you from this effect, which none will, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a Deep One enemy, spawn it engaged with you, and shuffle the encounter deck. So we're going to get a Deep One. That'll do. I'll pull the one out in a second. I'll pull the one we drew here in a second. Because it will be affecting Akachi here shortly. All right, Akachi drew a Lurking Deep One, 2 combat, 2 health, 4 agility, humanoid monster Deep One, prey, lowest agility, forced. After Lurking Deep One engages you, take 1 damage. So Akachi will take 1 damage from that. Then before we leave the Mythos phase, she's going to use the Arcane Initiate to search the top 3 for a spell. First up, Azure Flame again. I do not want that again. Next up, another Wither and Clairvoyance. We're snap-taking Clairvoyance. We'll take a look at this. 4 cost to play, lore on commit. Uses 3, aka 4 charges. As an action, spend a charge to investigate, using will instead of lore. If you succeed, discover 1 additional clue at your location. If a good symbol is revealed during this investigation, take 1 horror. We're not looking at Azure Flame or Wither again because we've already got both of those in hand and we saw them earlier anyway. I would be very happy if we can get that Clairvoyance into play this round. But in order to do that, Nathaniel's going to need to kill that Lurking Deep One on Akachi, which I think Monster Punching is going to be our first order of business. So, what say we turn it over, so in the investigation phase, what say we turn it over to Nathaniel and see what he can do with these enemies. Nathaniel's hopefully going to deliver a swift left to the chops of these rats. So let's see what we can do with that for action 1. This will just be a basic fight action. He's up 5. Zero says, rats go bye-bye. That works for me. As for the deep one on Akachi, under normal circumstances, I would engage that off of Akachi, but as we see, potentially engaging these enemies can be dangerous, so I don't want to take a chance on that if I can avoid it. For action 2, so it's kind of a pick your poison, but for action 2, I'm going to use Monster Slayer to attack the lurking deep one. It deals +1 damage. Well, the attack will. We're up 4. Elder Thing is -3. If you fail and the amalgam is in the depths, put it into play engaged with you. Well, we're not failing. The deep one on Akachi's been defeated, and Nathaniel will exhaust the boxing gloves to go into the top 6 cards of his deck for a spirit event. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First up is Interrogate, which we can't take, although I'd love to. Next up, Beat Cop, which we also can't take. Next up, Boxing Clubs, which we can't take. Second Wind, which we can take. Glory, which we could also take that. And Counterpunch, which is also fair game. So let's take a look at the 3 events that we can take. We've got a Second Wind in hand. Glory, you can play after you defeat an enemy to draw 2 cards. And a Counterpunch. 0 cost to play. Combat Agility on commit, which Glory had 2 lore on commit. Fast, play after an enemy attacks you, even if that attack was cancelled. Fight, this attack targets the attacking enemy. I could probably take and play Glory since we're still within the defeated an enemy window. So I think we'll do that. I think we'll take Glory. Actually, is there anything else I want to play this turn? No. So yeah, we're going to do that. So we'll give these a shuffle back in. All right, and then since we're still within the defeated an enemy window, I'm going to go ahead and play Glory to draw 2 cards. Somebody in the comments section below can weigh in and tell me if I'm not allowed to do this, but for purposes of keeping the video moving, I'm going to rule that since I'm still within the window of having defeated the enemy and I haven't moved on to my next action yet, I can do that. So, my first card is another 1-2 punch. That will come in very handy. And something worth fighting for. 3 cost to play, will on commit. Something worth fighting for may be assigned horror dealt to other investigators at your location. 3 horror on soak. That was action 2. Action 3, Nathaniel will spend his last 2 resources to play out Safeguard. Reaction: after another investigator moves from your location to a connecting location, exhaust Safeguard to move with them. Keep an eye out for any trouble, she told me. I rolled my eyes. There was always trouble. Thanks, Akachi. I never would have guessed that. But that's it for Nathaniel. Now let's move over to Akachi. Akachi's rolling her eyes at the ever-showboating Nathaniel, but she has to admit having a pocket boxer is really handy. Action 1, she's going to take a resource. Action 2, she's going to spend all 4 of them to play the aforementioned Clairvoyance that we pulled with the Arcane Initiate, and she gets 4 charges on that, rather than the 3 that the spell normally comes with, because her special ability gives her extra charges on her spells. So there we are. And then action 3 will take us over to the map. Akachi's going to move over to this tidal tunnel. So we'll take a look at the back of this. All the flavor text on the back is going to be the same on the unrevealed side. The air is frigid here, and there is no sound but the faint plunking of water dripping onto the rough stone ground. You shudder and proceed onward. This flips into Tidal Pool, Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Tidal Shroud gets +1 Shroud while it is partially flooded, and +2 Shroud while it's fully flooded. Forced. After Tidal Pool is revealed, randomly choose one of the set-aside face-down keys and place it on Tidal Pool without looking at it. Let me just double-check something here. I believe those were set-aside face-up. So one of the face-down keys, we'll put this one there. Then Nathaniel's going to exhaust Safeguard to move with her. I'd rather not get surprised on enemies coming out. Wait a second. I want to make sure I'm not doing something... Okay, during Act 2 that'll happen. But that's it for Akachi. That's it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Nathaniel took care of both of our enemies in play. Boxers are apparently good at that. Who knew? So we'll go ahead and re-ready everything. Then we get the 2 clues on the location. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel and Akachi will each gain a resource. They both cleaned themselves out last round. Nathaniel will draw Fighting Lessons. Combat, Agility, ? On commit. Commit only to a skill test during an attack or an evasion attempt. You can commit this skill to an investigator's test at any location. That could be handy. Akachi draws Angered Spirits. Oh joy. Revelation, put it into play in your threat area. Fast action, exhaust a spell asset to move 1 charge from that asset to Angered Spirits. Forced, when the game ends, if Angered Spirits has fewer than 4 charges on it, you suffer 1 physical trauma. Good thing we're pulling this out now, I would say, rather than later in the scenario. Mythos phase, 3rd doom, 2nd doom on the agenda, 3rd in play thanks to the Arcane Initiate. Nathaniel will draw a Lurking Deep one, similar to probably the exact same one that he killed earlier. Lowest agility, so it would be looking for him anyway. Then when it engages him, he takes 1 damage. Those should be unexhausted as well. Akachi will draw Macabre Memento. Revelation test Will 3. If you reveal a cultist token during this test, you automatically fail. If you fail, take 2 horror. Akachi's up 2, and I think that's where she's going to test. Elder Thing, as we saw earlier, is a -3, so Akachi will fail and take 2 horror. And then she's going to be busy before we leave the Mythos phase. She's going to exhaust Clairvoyance to put a charge up on Angered Spirits, and then she'll also exhaust the Arcane Initiate to go 3 cards in for a spell. 1, 2, 3. First up, we'll find Ethereal Slip. We saw that earlier and passed on it. Next up, another Shriveling and Ward of Protection. This is the only new one, so we'll take a look at this one. 1 cost to play, ? On commit. Fast, play when you draw a non-weakness Treachery card. Cancel that card's Revelation effect, then take 1 horror. I think we're going to take Ward of Protection, just on general principles on maybe being able to protect ourselves from the deck a little bit better. Alright, we are all done there. That's everything in the Mythos phase. I'm just going to take a quick look at hands. Yeah, I think we're probably fine here. So, let's move into the investigation phase next, and I think Nathaniel will, as usual, be our first player. I'm not thrilled about doing this, but I'm going to attack the lurking deep one. The part I'm not thrilled about is having to use a vicious blow on it, because I don't want to use any of the events in my hand right now, and I want to make sure I take this thing out in one shot if I can. So Nathaniel right now is at 6, 7, he's up 5. -1 makes the lurking deep one go away. Then I think for actions 2 and 3, he's just going to take resources. Mostly setting up a bit more for later. That will do it for Nathaniel. Now let's move down to Akachi's play area. In an ideal turn sequence for Akachi, I get the clues off the title pool, then I take a resource, then I play Spirit Speaker. Because I want to be able to reset Clairvoyance So, let's see if that plan is going to work out. Action 1, we'll start off with a charge of Clairvoyance. And then am I going to commit anything to it? Because remember, this is a will test. I'm going to commit Meditative Trance to that to go up 3. I don't think Nathaniel has anything he wants to commit. No. So Akachi's up 3. +1 will get the clues off of... Oh, wait. +1 does deal us a horror, but it will get both the clues off the location. It'll also give Akachi the key. She will gain... That's the yellow key, I believe. Then the rest of the turn is going to go exactly how I was envisioning it. Action 2, she'll take a resource. And Action 3, she'll spend both of them to play out Spirit Speaker. Which means now once we use Clairvoyance, we can actually reset that. That will do it for Akachi. We'll flip that over. That will do it for Akachi. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Nathaniel is doing a nice job of keeping our enemies under control. So, we'll reset everything, including our action tokens. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. For the first time all scenario, we've got investigators at different resource counts. Nathaniel gains 1 and goes up to 4. Akachi gains 1. Nathaniel will draw. If it bleeds, 1 cost to play, will combat on commit. Play after you defeat a monster enemy. Each investigator at your location heals horror equal to that enemy's horror value. We haven't had too much with horror that we have had to... Oh, I take that back. The lurking deep ones have both had horror on them. Akachi will draw. Amnesia. Oh, fun. Revelation. Choose and discard all but 1 card from your hand. Good thing we played out that Spirit Speaker, but I think we're going to keep the Ward of Protection. Everything else will go away. And then we can theoretically use the Arcane Initiate to reset Akachi's hand. Mythos phase. 3rd Doom on the agenda. If I can ever get it out of the cup. 4th in play thanks to the Arcane Initiate. Nathaniel will draw. Deep 1 Bull. Oh, fun. 4 combat, 5 health, 2 evade value. Forced. After Deep 1 Bull engages you, choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Forced. After an investigator defeats another Deep 1 enemy at any location, ready Deep 1 Bull and move it once toward that investigator's location. 2 damage on attack. Fun. Akachi draws. Rising Tides. Increase the flood level of the nearest location that can have its flood level increased. If no location's flood level is increased by this effect, Rising Tides gains Surge. I gotta remember how flooding works. Okay, look, no flood token is unflooded. Okay, so it looks like the nearest location that can have its flood level increased is the tidal pool. So, once again, I'm using fancy flood tokens from orbits. If a location has no flood token on it, it's not flooded at all. That side is going to mean partially flooded. This side's fully flooded. So right now the tidal pool is partially flooded. So that's all done there. Once again, we're going to be busy in the Mythos phase. The Arcane Initiate will get exhausted so Akachi can go look for another spell. First up, Read the Signs, which is very welcome. Next up, Meditative Trance, which is not a spell, so we can't take that. And Shriveling. Well, it's going to be Read the Signs that we take. We've seen all of these earlier. I'll deal with the discard on Nathaniel's Deep One Bull here once I get done with Akachi. Technically, that should have been done as soon as Nathaniel got engaged with the Deep One Bull, but I just kind of got sidetracked into other things. We're exhausting Clairvoyance as well to put another charge up. As for Nathaniel, I think we're going to discard a second wind. Okay, so that will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase next, and Nathaniel is going to go see if he can deal with this Deep One Bull. What say we drop down to his play area? There is something to be said for trying to evade the Deep One Bull. We'll see what happens if this first fight doesn't go well. So, and it doesn't heal if another one Deep One bites it. So, we're going to spend 2 resources for his first action for a 1-2 punch. Fight with +1 combat for the attack. If you succeed, you may fight that enemy again and get +2 combat to deal +1 damage for that attack. Nathaniel is renowned for his rapid left jab and right cross signature move. Okay, so that's going to bring us to 5, 6, 7. We're up 3. And just looking at his... When you deal damage to an enemy by an event or fight ability on an event. So it looks like I could use that on either clause of this card. So, for this first attack, Nathaniel is up 5, 6, 7. He's up 3. That's a Cultist, which is -2. If you fail and your location is flooded, take 1 damage. Partially flooded does count as flooded, but we're not going to fail that. So the Deep One Bull will take 1 damage. And then we can attack it again with +2 damage and deal +1 damage for the attack. So now we're at 5, 6, 8. Now we're up 4, trying to do... I think we're going to have this attack do 3 damage. If we... Well, we'll see what happens here. So we're up 4. That's a -1, so we are going to have that attack do 3 damage. That's our once per round 3 damage from an event. I don't think the whole thing would... I don't think I'd get that from both clauses on the card. The way Nathaniel's ability is worded, and once again, somebody can correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong, but the way Nathaniel's ability is worded, I think it gives me either... I think I can use it on either clause on 1-2 punch. Again, I could be wrong. Action 2, he's going to run a basic attack on that. He's up 2. Cultist is -2, but we were up by 2, so toodaloo, Mr. Deep One Bull. Nathaniel is really good at this fighting thing. Who knew? Then action 3, along with likely most of Akachi's turn, will take us over to the map. For action 3, Nathaniel will move over to the unfamiliar chamber, and that will do it for him. As for Akachi's first action, she'll move over to the unfamiliar chamber as well. Then action 2, she's going to move down to this tidal tunnel, and we'll take a look at that. Underground River, shroud of 4 clues. Underground River cannot be fully flooded. Forced, after Underground River is revealed, increase its flood level. So it's going from unflooded to partially flooded. I'll get the 4 clues out for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then Nathaniel will exhaust Safeguard to move with Akachi. I forgot Nathaniel could actually exhaust the boxing gloves for an event after the Deep One Bull. I'm not going to rewind and do that. For action 3, Akachi is going to use her last charge of clairvoyance with a plan on resetting that. So she's at 6. She's at 5 actually. She's up 1. Nathaniel's going to give her something worth fighting. Actually, no. He's going to commit... Actually, he is going to commit, if it bleeds, to put her up 2. Trying to get 2 clues. Elder Thing is our fail, so we don't get any clues from that, unfortunately. As a fast action, though, we're going to exhaust Spirit Speaker to pull Clairvoyance back to Akachi's hand, with a plan of grabbing some resources and resetting it next round. But that will do it for Akachi. That will do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Nathaniel took out the Deep One Bull, so we can go ahead and reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel will gain 1 resource and go to 3. Akachi will gain 1 and go to 2. Nathaniel will draw. Counterpunch. 0 cost to play. Combat agility on commit. Fast. Play after an enemy attacks you, even if the attack was cancelled. Fight. This attack targets the attacking enemy. Akachi draws. Familiar Spirit, which we had to discard earlier, giving her another arcane slot. Mythos phase, 4th Doom on the agenda, 5th in play thanks to the Initiate. Nathaniel draws. Undertow. If your location is unflooded, Undertow gains Surge. Otherwise, put Undertow into play in your threat area. Forced. After you move, take 2 and 2, discard Undertow. As a fast action, discard 1 card from your hand. Test Combat 3 or Agility 3 to fight the pull of the tides. If you succeed, discard Undertow. Our location is partially flooded, so we do get that. Akachi draws. Fractured Consciousness. Revelation test Lore 3. If you reveal a rune token during this test, you automatically fail. If you fail, take 2 damage. Akachi's down 1 on that. Actually, she could Ward of Protection that, and I think she will. She's going to Ward of Protection that, which will deal her a horror, but given that she's going in down 1, and the only way would be to pretty much clean her out of lore, including the clairvoyance that I'm planning to reset in a couple turns. That doesn't seem like a good plan. Let's exhaust the Arcane Initiate to go 3 more for a spell. First card up. Another Shriveling, which we can take. Second up. The Ethereal Slip. I swear we're seeing the same 3 cards. And Ward of Protection. Well, we're going to take another Ward of Protection. You guys are watching me shuffle this, so you know I'm not up to anything funny here. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to wait a little bit to reset Akachi's Clairvoyance, because I want to work on getting some of these clues off the location. Let's see if we can get rid of this. Do we want to see if we can get rid of this undertow, or do I think we're staying put? I think we're probably going to stay put while we work on getting the clues off of this location. So, moving into the investigation phase, we'll start off with Akachi, and we'll start down in her play area. Action 1, Akachi is going to take a resource. Action 2, she's going to spend them both to play Read the Signs. So we're at 7 to 4. She's up 3, trying to get 2 clues off the location. Elder Sign. Akachi's Elder Sign is +1. Add 1 charge to an asset with uses, charges you control. Unfortunately, we had to reset her we're planning to reset her Clairvoyance, so that's not in play. But we do get the 2 clues off the location, which would let us advance the act, but I think we're going to sit tight on that until we get into a new act. Until we get into a new round. So action 3, Akachi will take a resource. That will do it for Akachi. Now let's move over to Nathaniel. Nathaniel's looking kind of bored at the moment. So just for giggles, as a fast action, he's going to discard something worth fighting for to try to fight the tide. He's up 2. He doesn't get the bonus from boxing gloves because he's not fighting right now. Rune is a -2. Actually, let's bring the rune up. -2. If you fail and you control a key, take 1 horror. Fortunately for us, neither is true, so Nathaniel will discard Undertow. And then I think he's just kind of in a prepare for the next round phase. Action 1, he'll take a resource. Action 2, he'll draw a card. Nathaniel will draw. Interrogate. Ooh. 2 cost to play. Will or combat lore on commit. Parlay. Choose a humanoid enemy at your location and test combat 3. The test gets +X difficulty, where X is the chosen enemy's damage value. If you succeed, discover 1 clue at your location and 1 clue at any other location. He was hiding something, but why? Action 3 will do it again, so Nathaniel will draw. Another something worth fighting for that we discarded to get rid of Undertow. That will do it for Nathaniel. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we still have no enemies in play. So we'll reset everything. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel will gain 1 resource and go to 5. Akachi will gain 1 and go to 2. Nathaniel will draw another second wind, which I'm not too worried about that right now. Akachi will draw an ethereal slip. 2 cost to play, will, agility on commit. Choose a non-elite enemy at a revealed location up to 2 connections away. Swap places with that enemy. Mythos phase, 5th Doom on the agenda, 6th in play thanks to the Arcane Initiate. Nathaniel will draw Rising Tides. Revelation, increase the flood level of the nearest location that can have its flood level increased. If no location's flood level is increased by this effect, Rising Tides gains Surge. Looks like the Unfamiliar Chamber can have its flood... Is there any way to specify that what locations can have the flood level increased? I think the Unfamiliar Chamber can actually have its flood level increased. So that's going to partially flooded. Then Akachi will draw Dreams of Relay. Revelation, put Dreams of Relay into play in your threat area. You get -1 will and -1 sanity. As an action test, will 3. If you succeed, discard Dreams of Relay. That's not terrible. Before we leave the Mythos phase, we'll be a little bit busy, though. We'll exhaust the Arcane Initiates to get 3 cards off the top. We're looking for a spell. First up, Meditative Trance, which we can't take. Next up, another Ethereal Slip, which we can, and Eldritch Initiation, which we can't take. So it's only the Ethereal Slip that we have available to us, which we might need to try to get rid of Dreams of Relay. But before we do that, before we look into that, we do have enough clues to advance the act, so we're going to. Once I finish getting this shuffled up and cut, and we'll spend Akachi's 6 clues to advance the act. Recognition. You find a path that leads deeper into this strange cave system, but before you can follow it to see where it leads, the sound of water sloshing behind you sets your heart racing. When you turn to face the sound, what you see next nearly causes you to faint. It is an enormous hybrid of many faces and shapes, some human, some aquatic, all of them misshapen and revolting. As the thing draws closer, you meet the frozen gaze of one of its faces upon its body, and you realize that you recognize it. This is not wanting to focus for me. Spawn the set-aside the amalgam enemy engaged with the lead investigator. Shuffle each set-aside copy of Blind Sense and From the Depths into the encounter deck, along with the discard pile. Shuffle each of the set-aside Tidal Tunnel locations together to form the Tidal Tunnel deck, including the set-aside Altar to Dagon, Idle Chamber, and Sealed Exit locations. Put the locations from the top of the Tidal Tunnel deck into play below, to the left, and to the right of each revealed location. Read Flashback 1 in the campaign guide. So I'm going to do all of that. Actually, the one thing we can do before I turn the camera off is we're going to look at the amalgam. Monster, okay, 3 health, 3 combat, 3 health, 2 evade. Hunter, reaction after you successfully evade the amalgam by 2 or more, take control of 1 key on it. Forced, after the amalgam engages you, if you control a key, either place one of your keys on it or it attacks you. Fortunately, Nathaniel does not control a key. Forced, when the amalgam is defeated, place it in the depths. 1 damage, 1 sanity on attack. Okay, now I'm going to shut the camera off to do the rest of that, and when we come back, we'll be ready to read through Flashback 1 in the campaign guide. We're all set for Flashback 1, so here we go.
Flashback 1. Do not read unless instructed. You stand in a small office. examining a worn photograph in a well-polished wooden frame. In the photo, a squad of men in military uniforms pose in front of a Bristol F.2 fighter plane. Several of the men wear tan British uniforms, but one sports the olive overcoat and khakis of an American soldier. His sleeves each bear a rectangular patch striped vertically with the captain's paired silver bars. At the bottom of the photograph, in black ink, cursive handwriting reads, British 4th Army, outside of St. Quentin, 1918. The door to the office opens suddenly, startling you. You put the photograph down and turn to address the man entering. You identify him immediately by his dark brown skin, his strong jaw, and his broad shoulders. It is Thomas Dawson, the American from the photograph, though he has aged a bit since his war days, and heavy bags hang under his eyes. One war ends, a new war begins, he says quietly. Only this enemy is even harder to root out. You ask the man what a war hero is doing in the investigative business, and he chuckles softly in response. War hero? I don't know where you heard that from. I was just doing my duty. You shake your head, but do not argue further. You suspect that the squadron Captain Dawson rescued would disagree as well. In any event, I suppose you're wondering why I summoned you here to Boston, he says, gesturing for you to take a seat in front of his desk. You sit and respond to his remark with affirmation, wondering aloud why a telephone call would not have sufficed. This is a sensitive matter, he replies. A few days ago, I lost contact with one of my agents, a Miss Elena Harper. I had her investigating several strange reports I've received in the past few months, all concerning a town called Innsmouth. Do you know the place? It's along the coast to the north of your town of Arkham, just by Ipswich. You know the place. Though most have never heard of the shadowed, decrepit seaport, those who do only hear ill rumors. From what you understand, the town used to be a lively port before the War of 1812, but it has since become dingy and run down. The only railway line that runs through Innsmouth is abandoned, and there are no references to the town on any maps or in any guidebooks you have ever seen. Perhaps she's found something curious or has gone into hiding, but I suspect foul play. It could be mob work, but I doubt it. I'm not sending any more agents until I know for sure. However, I have some room in our discretionary budget to hire a third party, such as yourself. You assume Agent Dawson is dancing around the truth, which is that you are expendable. I know it isn't much to go on, but I need to know the status of Agent Harper. Even bad news would be better than no news at this point. If you do me this favor, our agency will be in your debt. You ask which agency Dawson is referring to. A smirk tugs at his lips. When you snap back to the present, you still gaze at Agent Dawson's face. Only now his smirk is twisted in a haunting visage of agony. It is just one of the many faces that writhe in torment throughout this repulsive creature's scaly, pulsating flesh. In your campaign log, under Memories Recovered, record a meeting with Thomas Dawson.
Which I recorded that in my campaign log before, as the flashback was playing. So now we're all set to look at our new act, Act 2A. The Escape. What in the hell is this place, and why have you been trapped here? You have to find a way out, but more of your memories might be tucked away in this pit. Forced, after a location is revealed, put locations from the top of the title deck into play below, to the left, and to the right of that location. Objective, there must be a way out of here. If each surviving investigator has resigned, advance. So now we need to find a way out, but potentially more memories could be useful. But that's it for the Mythos phase, so now we're into a new investigation phase. And I think our first order of business for Nathaniel is going to be punching this amalgam in the mouth, I guess. But anyway, let's move down to Nathaniel's play area. I was just setting myself straight because I was a little bit confused on if I drew Mythos cards or not. But I did. I advanced the act in the fast action window at the end of the Mythos phase. So now we've got all that straight. Coming back to our first order of business with Nathaniel, we're going to start off by trying to punch this amalgam wherever part it's got. So for action 1, we're going to spend 2 resources on his other 1-2 punch. So we'll start off with a 5, 6, 7. We're up 4 on the attack. So the amalgam is a 3. Come on. That's a -2, an unfortunately well-loved -2, for 1 damage on the amalgam. Then he's going to fight again, this time +2, and deals +1 damage for the attack. So, he's at 5, 6, 7, 8. He's up 5 this time, trying to do 2 damage. That's a 0, which means we chase the amalgam back to the depths. We'll put the depths up here, I guess. And then Nathaniel will exhaust the boxing gloves, searching the top 6 of his deck for a spirit event. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First up, Interrogate, which is useful but not a spirit. Next up, Fighting Lessons, also not a spirit event. If it bleeds, not a spirit event, but would be useful. Emergency Cash would be very welcome, but not a spirit. Safeguard, also not a spirit. And Greet Wagner the Purifier, also very useful, but also not a spirit event, so total whiff. Which happens sometimes, but that's just how it goes. Alright, and I don't think there's anything in his hand that he wants to play right now. No. So I think action 2, we're going to take a resource. And action 3, we're going to draw a card. So Nathaniel will draw. The Interrogate that we presumably shuffled away, that we theoretically shuffled away. That's it for Nathaniel. Akachi's turn will take us over to her play area. For this turn, we need to take a setup turn, I think. So resource, resource. And then replay, where are you? Clairvoyance. Both my ethereal slips. Ward of Protection. Clairvoyance. We're only going to get 3 charges on it, though, because we're going to exhaust... Because we're going to use Angered Spirits to exhaust it to put one of those charges on Angered Spirits. By next turn, we're not going to... Hopefully by next round, we're going to be done with Angered Spirits. But that was a very uneventful turn for Akachi in the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Nathaniel managed to chase the amalgam into the depths. So, we haven't been over to the map yet because I haven't had a reason to move over there yet to show the new tidal tunnel locations being added to play. But let's move back up top for the upkeep phase. Finishing is unexhausting my cards. Nathaniel will gain 1 resource, go to 5. Akachi will gain 1 resource. Nathaniel will draw. Beat Cop, 4 cost to play, combat on commit. You get +1 combat, and as a fast action, discard Beat Cop to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. Ally slot's a little bit crowded for Nathaniel at the moment. Akachi draws. Drawn to the Flame. This is going to be very useful. 0 cost to play, will lore on commit. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, then discover 2 clues at your location. Mythos phase, we are advancing the agenda. So let's take a look at our agenda. The flood begins. Your worst fears are coming true. Puddles of water that had barely reached your ankles are rising and joining one another. You scramble to find higher ground, but your efforts are for naught. In a matter of minutes, the water level has risen to your knees and shows no sign of slowing. Increase the flood level of each revealed location. Until the end of the game, each time a location is revealed, increase its flood level. Keep this card next to the act deck as a reminder, and advance to Agenda 2A. I'll deal with that's each revealed location. So the tidal pool is now fully flooded, as is the unfamiliar chamber, and the underground river can't be fully flooded. So we're somewhat safe there. And we'll take a look at Agenda 2A. The water rises. Your every movement is coupled with the loud swashing of rippling water all around you. If the tide continues to rise, the cavern will be completely submerged in a matter of hours. Forced, it's got the same forced clause that we had earlier on the agenda. Now for Mythos cards. Nathaniel will draw. Deep One Bull once again. We saw this earlier, but Nathaniel was able to deal with it. But he's got to choose and discard a card from his hand. We'll toss a Second Wind. Then Akachi will draw. Riptide. If your location is flooded, Riptide gains Surge. Otherwise, test Agility 3. 4 instead if your location is fully flooded. If you fail, choose and discard one asset you control. If you can't, lose one resource for each point you fail by instead. She's even with that test. Does she have agility she can commit? She's going to commit both of her ethereal slips to go up 2. I don't think Nathaniel has any agility. He can commit? No, he doesn't. So Akachi's up 2. Because I could discard the Arcane Initiate to this, but I'd rather not. That's how I'm kind of working through her deck a little bit. Elder Thing. Oh, that's a problem. As we saw earlier, it's a -3, which will mean the Arcane Initiate will get washed away, and the Amalgam is going to spawn engaged with Akachi. Actually, yeah. It will spawn engaged with Akachi and take one of her keys. That's not good. Yikes. Okay, so now we've got a big problem on our hands. Yeah, this turned highly problematic unless we think we can. We might have to try to get away from that Amalgam. So, heading into the investigation phase now. Actually, before we do that, we'll exhaust Clairvoyance, so we'll move the last charge up to Angered Spirit. So now we're done with that, which means we at least won't suffer another physical trauma after we get eliminated. So, heading into the investigation phase next, I think Akachi's going to try to get away from the. He's going to try to evade the Amalgam first. So let's move down to our play area. Akachi's first order of business is going to be to try to evade the Amalgam. She's up 1. Nathaniel's going to commit fighting lessons to put her up 3. So we have to succeed by 2 or more to get control of the registries back. We can also defeat it, which might be tempting. A 0 evades it and gives us the key back. So that's up at the underground river. So that gives Akachi the key back. Action 2 will take us over to the map. I'm mostly over here to show you how the map has changed a little bit since the act advanced. So these are our new locations, these 4 tidal tunnels, since that one never got revealed. But actually, we're going to change it up a little bit. I had a plan in mind, but we're going to use a Drawn to the Flame instead. I'm taking a bit of a calculated gamble that I won't pull something that's going to prevent me from moving. So Akachi will draw. Rising Tides. Increase Actually, I just realized that, no, we're both at partially flooded. The undertow is still partially flooded. Increase the flood level of the nearest location that can have its flood level increased. If no location's flood level is increased by this effect, rising tides gain surge. I believe we can't reveal. I believe we can't flood. No, I think we are. I think we can increase the flood level of unrevealed locations. Yes, so I will flood the... So I'll flood this tidal tunnel. Remember, we can't increase the flood level on the underground river. It can't be fully flooded, so I will get the last 2 clues off of there. These standees are not working for me at all, so I'm just going to use the mini cards, and I'll have to have them overlap like that. Akachi will move down, so she gets those 2 clues. Then for action 3, Akachi is going to move down to the tidal tunnel. Nathaniel will trigger Safeguard to move with her, which won't cause him to be attacked because he's not moving via a move action. So he won't take an attack of opportunity, but let's see what this tidal tunnel gives us. Shroud of 3, 2 clues. Tidal pool gets +1 shroud while it's partially flooded, and +2 shroud when it's fully flooded. After tidal pool is revealed, randomly choose one of the set-aside face-down keys and place it on tidal pool without looking at it. So we get 2 clues. The shroud on there will be a 4. So we put one of the keys there. Then we'll put locations there, there, and there. And then Nathaniel, once again, will trigger Safeguard to move with her. Then that will do it for Akachi's turn. Nathaniel... Actually, before we take Nathaniel's turn, I'm going to change my battery. And we're back with a fresh battery. For action 1, Nathaniel is going to attack the Deep One Bull. So we're at 5-6. We're up 2. Is there anything I can commit, or I'm going to? We'll commit the Beat Cop to go. We'll commit the Beat Cop to go up 3. Actually, no. Let's not commit the Beat Cop yet. Up 2 should be fine. Oh, right, we evaded the amalgam. So Nathaniel's up 2. Cultist is -2, which will not be enough to fail us. So the Deep One Bull will take 1 damage. Action 2 will run it back. There we are. Rune, -2, which is also still not enough to fail us, so the Deep One Bull will take another damage. Action 3, we'll do it again. Tentacle touched. Delightful. That's unfortunate, but that's it for Nathaniel. That's it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, hunter enemies would move except the amalgam is exhausted. The Deep One Bull is going to attack Nathaniel for 2 damage, which will then cause Nathaniel to play... Where is it? Ah, here we are. Counterpunch. Play after an enemy attacks you, even if the attack was cancelled. Fight targeting the attacking enemy. Now we're going to use the Beat Cop to go up 3 on that. I don't think Akachi has anything... She could use the Ward of Protection to put him up 4, but I'd rather have that for protection from the encounter deck. Rune is still not enough to fail us, so we'll use Nathaniel's special ability to do 2 damage to it, which means the Deep One Bull is 1 damage away from being dead once again. Then that's it for the phase. We'll reset everything here. The amalgam will wake up, and hopefully we'll be a ways away from that. But now let's move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel will gain 1 resource and go to 6. Akachi will gain 1 and go to 2. Nathaniel will draw. Monster Slayer. Fight, attack, dealing +1 damage. Akachi will draw. Hallowed Mirror. Limit 2 cost to play, will on commit. Limit 1 per deck. Forced. After Hallowed Mirror enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Soothing Melody. Add 1 to your hand and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When Hallowed Mirror leaves play, find each of those copies of Soothing Melody, even if they're out of play, and remove them from the game. Mythos phase puts our first Doom on the agenda. Nathaniel will draw. Blind Sense. Revelation test Agility 3. If you fail and the amalgam is in play, it readies, moves directly to your location, engages you, and makes an immediate attack. In the depths, put it into play engaged with you, it makes an immediate attack. Nathaniel is down 1. This might be worth a ward of... I was going to say it might be worth a ward of protection, but I don't... Actually, no. I could probably deal with that. So, Nathaniel is down 1. Down 1 hoping for a pull is not something I normally like, but here I don't mind it and I have a reason for that. +1 though means we don't have a pull. Means we get the pull that we were hoping for. So we get very much lucky. The reason I wouldn't have minded failing that test, actually there are 2 reasons I wouldn't have minded. First, Nathaniel doesn't control a key, so he wouldn't have had a key to lose. And second, he probably would have been able to defeat the amalgam again anyway. Akachi will then draw. Fractured Consciousness. Revelation test lore 3. We warded protection to this earlier, and... Nathaniel just got a pull, but I don't trust my ability to do it twice in a row. But I think we're going to have to trust our ability to get another pull on this one. So, Akachi is down 1. Cultist does not give us a pull, so we're actually, yikes. We're actually taking 3 damage coming out of that because the -2 will be more than enough to cause us to fail, and we're taking 2 damage from that anyway, so we're actually taking 3 damage. Ouch. And unfortunately, we just get domed with that, so... Yeah, Akachi is in a bad way right now, but that's all we can do there. So let's move into the investigation phase, and let's see about taking out this Deep One Bull from Nathaniel. Nathaniel is going to tell this Deep One Bull to put up its dukes, I guess. He's up 2, trying to defeat it. -1 gets rid of it, after which he's going to exhaust the boxing gloves to search the top 6 of his deck for a spirit event. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. First up, Hallowed Mirror, welcome, but not a spirit event. Next up, Counterpunch, this could also be welcome. Paranoia, get out of here. Vicious Blow, wanted but can't take it. Daring, also can't take that. And Tommy Malloy, get out of here. Counterpunch is what I'm taking, because that's the only spirit event among those cards. Then action 2 will take us over to the map. Nathaniel's going to move over to this tidal tunnel location. And we'll see what's on the back here. That's going to be action... I think this is action 2? Yes, this is action 2 for Nathaniel. Fish Graveyard, Shroud of 2, 2 clues. Forced, after you end your turn at Fish Graveyard, if you do not control a key, and he won't, take 1 horror. Fast action, if there are no clues on Fish Graveyard and you control the red key, inside a pile of half-rotten fish guts, you find a strange figurine the red key fits into perfectly. Read Flashback 3 in the campaign guide. Let's get Akachi over here pronto. She's got the red key. Actually, she's got both of our keys. Let's see, for action 3... is there much he can do for action 3 right now? There is not. I think he's just kind of sitting tight right now. You know what? Stranger things have happened. I'll take an investigate action. So Nathaniel right now is even. Oh, we got to put the last tidal tunnel into play. We'll put that right there. Wow. All right, if -3, if you fail and the amalgam is in the depths, it's not in the depths. It's in play. So that will cause Nathaniel to take a horror from ending his turn at the Fish Graveyard without a key. Akachi up next, and I was going to... I think what we're going to do here is we're going to move her over to the Fish Graveyard for action 1. Action 2 will spend a charge of Clairvoyance to see about getting the clues off of there so we can get to Flashback 3. She is up 2, despite the Dreams of Relay. And I think up 2 is where she will test. That's a +1, which will deal her another horror, so we need to be careful with that. But it will give us the 2 clues, and it'll give us Flashback 3 in the campaign log. So let me get that queued up here, and let's take a listen.
Flashback 3. Hey, take a look at this. Your employer shoves a strange figurine into your hands. It is hewn of emerald stone and looks vaguely aquatic, with 2 unblinking eyes and a row of sharp teeth. A piece of heart-shaped amber is embedded in its center. What do you make of it? You reply that you have seen nothing quite like it before, but it does happen to match the descriptions you have heard of the devils that skulk about the reefs a couple of miles beyond the harbor. Something fishy is going on here, if you'll pardon my saying, the man mutters, folding his arms across his chest. I'm glad I roped you in on this case. It's looking less and less like mob work with each passing hour. You nod in agreement and hand the strange figurine back to the agent. Everything about this town feels foul to you. Let's stick together from here on out, your companion says, his voice darkening. In your campaign log, under Memories Recovered, record a decision to stick together. Remove 1 rune token from the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign.
There's the rune token that we're taking out of the bag. Very nicely done there, Akachi. That was action 2. Action 3, I think we're going to test for... Oh, we also have to increase the flood level on Fish Graveyard. Action 3, we're going to test for Dreams of Relay to see if we can get rid of that. So we're up 1. I'd like to be able to make a... I'd like to be able to get my will back up to full strength, especially with a third key over here waiting for us. So, we're up 1. Skull is -2 since our location's partially flooded, so we fail. We still have Dreams of Relay. That will do it for Akachi, that'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the Amalgam being a hunter, will move to the tidal tunnel. We'll move to this tidal tunnel. These two are equidistant, so we can choose. We're going to move him there. We're going to move him there. We'll reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel will gain 1 resource and go to 7. That should be unexhausted. Akachi will gain 1 and go to 3. Nathaniel will draw. Emergency Cash. Gain 3 resources, 0 cost to play. That would be beautiful if we can get that into Akachi's hand. Akachi will draw. Ask, and ye shall receive. Her Emergency Cash. Mythos phase, second doom on the agenda. Those flip into 2 Phoenix. Nathaniel draws. Rising Tides. Increase the... Oh, joy. We need to get them both out of here. So the fish graveyard is now fully flooded. Nathaniel would survive. Akachi would not. But let's see what Akachi draws. Macabre Memories. Revelation Test Will 3. If you reveal a cultist token during this test, you automatically fail. Uh-oh. Alright, Will. I think we're going to commit a familiar spirit to get her up 2. Does Nathaniel have anything he can commit? He'll give her something worth fighting for to put her up 3. Let me find the bag. Here we are. So Akachi's up 3. -1 means we're all clear of that. So, that can move to the discard pile. That will do it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and if we can keep playing patty cake with the Amalgam for a while, we can probably deal with some of this stuff. So, let's move over to Akachi, and we'll start off in her... We'll start off at the map, actually. Action 1, actually, let me adjust that just a bit. Action 1, Akachi is going to move back over to this tidal pool. Nathaniel will exhaust Safeguard and move with her. Action 2, she's going to try to get rid of Dreams of Relay. Right now she's up 1. And Nathaniel, up 1 is where she's going to have to test. -1 is enough to get rid of Dreams of Relay, though, so we're clear there. Which means now she's back to +1 Will and +1 Sanity. Well, back to normal, essentially. Then Action 3, she'll use her last charge of Clairvoyance to try to get the clues off of there. Now she's up 1. So we got another up 1 test. A -1 gives her both clues. And we'll get the key, the last key here. The key here is the purple key. That's very helpful there. That will do it for Akachi. Nathaniel, we might as well stay right here at the map. The Amalgam isn't coming after, isn't going to be getting to either of us next turn anyway, so I think I'll have Nathaniel move over to this tidal tunnel, and we'll reveal what's over here. We will find Bone-Ridden Pit, Shroud of 6 2 clues. For each key controlled by an investigator at Bone-Ridden Pit, it gets -1 shroud. Fast action, if there are no clues on Bone-Ridden Pit and you control the yellow key, you notice an odd joint socket near the skeleton's midsection that matches the shape of the yellow key. Read Flashback 2 in the campaign guide. So we'll get the 2 key clues out for that. Nathaniel is not passing a Shroud 6 test in a million years. Although we could potentially cheese getting those clues off if we get an enemy out, or humanoid enemy. Action 2, he's going to move back over, actually he's going to move up to this tidal tunnel, and we'll see what's here. We're going to let him explore a little bit, especially since the amalgam's looking for him anyway. Underwater cat. Oh, we got to reveal. We have to increase the whatchacalls of both of those, the flood levels. Shroud of 2, 2 clues. As an action, move. Move from underwater cavern to any flooded cave location. Forced. After underwater cavern is revealed, it becomes fully flooded. Wonderful. Let's see, so action 1 was... So we sent Nathaniel moving. We'll get the 2 clues out for that. Actually, he can get right back to... He can get right back to Akachi if we want to, or... I could... Potentially... there's no reason to investigate there, I don't think, unless we need the clues for something. It's not saying we do, but... And it's a victory location. I think we're going to move back to... I think we're going to use the action on the location to move to any flooded cave location. We'll move back to Akachi. That will do it for Nathaniel. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, the amalgam is moving to the fish graveyard. Once again, we can choose when the locations are equidistant, and that's our only enemy in play. So we'll reset everything here. And then we'll move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel will gain 1 resource and go to 8. Akachi will gain 1 and go to 4, assuming the resource stops flying. Nathaniel will draw. Tommy Malloy, oh joy. 2, 3, 3. Prey, Nathaniel Cho only, Hunter. Forced, when Tommy Malloy would take any amount of damage, reduce that amount to 1. They call him the Big Palooka. Nathaniel calls him Scum, and I'm not inclined to disagree. 2 damage on attack, gross. Akachi draws. Another emergency cache. That could be very handy. Mythos phase, we go up to 3 doom on the agenda. Nathaniel draws. From the depths. If the amalgam is in the depths, put it into play engaged with you, which it's not. Otherwise, place the amalgam in the depths, and from the depths gains surge. That's actually kind of welcome for us, because that gets the amalgam out of play for a little while, which means we can deal with it potentially a bit more easily. Then this surges into Blind Sense. We had this earlier, and we got kind of lucky with it. The question is, do I trust my luck a second time? And I think the answer is... the answer, I think, is I have to. We can definitely get it engaged with us, and I don't mind it engaging to Nathaniel because he doesn't control a key anyway. So frankly, I'd rather have it engaged with Nathaniel than with Akachi. Mostly because of the key question. So Nathaniel is down 1. Nope, down 1's where he's going to have to test. Why does that Big Palooka follow us to Innsmouth anyway? Don't we have bigger problems? That's a -1, so the amalgam comes right back to Nathaniel. When it engages him... actually, wait a second. You either place one of your keys on it or it attacks you. So Nathaniel actually should have taken an attack earlier. So we'll give him the attack now, and then we'll give him another attack for the amalgam engaging him. Actually, it's going to make 2 attacks against him. which means that thing needs to go. Do we have a counterpunch in hand? We do, actually, which we will go ahead and use that. So, okay, so fight the attack targets the attacking enemy. We're going to, so yeah, we're attacking the amalgam. We're up 5, 6. We're up 3. Cultist is -2. If you fail and your location is flooded, take a damage. We don't fail, so the cultist, or so the amalgam takes 1 damage. So counterpunch is gone. I could use the... I could use a special ability on the amalgam, but I think I'm going to save that for Tommy Malloy. When you deal damage to an enemy by an event, deal 1 additional damage. I think that's a second source of damage, is how I'd rule that. And then Akachi draws. Undertow. Oh, fun. Akachi is going to have to try to get away from this somehow. Great. Nathaniel had that earlier, and he was able to get away from it, but Akachi is not going to have as easy a time getting away from it. But that will do it for the Mythos phase. Before we leave, though, we're going to exhaust Spirit Speaker to return Clairvoyance to Akachi's hand. Actually, I take that... Actually, you know what? This, I think, is worth a... This, I think, is worth a Ward of Protection. We're going to ward that, which will deal Akachi another horror. I think we'll have to do it that way. So that's it for the Mythos phase. Investigation phase now, and I think Akachi's turn will take us to her play area first. Action 1 will start off with one of her emergency caches to gain 3 resources, looking at the flavor text. You can never be too prepared. That's the hope anyway. Action 2 will reset her clairvoyance and get 4 charges for that, now that we don't have to worry about angered spirits anymore. And then action 3, along with Nathaniel's turn, will take us over to the map. Akachi will move over to the bone-ridden pit. Unfortunately, she can't do anything with the investigation there. That will do it for her turn. Nathaniel will exhaust Safeguard to move with her. For Nathaniel's turn, we're just going to stay right here. Action 1, he's going to start off with a Monster Slayer on targeting the amalgam to deal +1 damage to it. So right now he's at 5, 6 to 3. He's up 3. Skull is a -2 since our location is fully flooded, but that's still enough to chase the amalgam back into the depths once again. Can't get away from that thing. Now for this big palooka. Let's start off with a... Let's just start doing regular attacks, I guess. Unfortunately, we need to hit him 3 times in 6... Well, we could put 1 damage on Randall to block one of those attacks. Actually, I take that back. We're going to exhaust the boxing gloves to see if we can find a spirit event. I doubt it, though. 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, first card up. Safeguard, which we can't take. Next, emergency cache, which we also can't take. Next, vicious blow, which we can't take, and wouldn't be useful against Tommy anyway. Greet Wagner, which we also can't take. Fighting Lessons, which we can't take. And Hallowed Mirror, which we also can't take because we need to see a spirit keyword in the middle there. So that's unfortunate. So we'll give this is getting to be a pretty small deck. Nathaniel's going to be flipping it over pretty soon. Okay, that was action 1. Action 2, he's going to just start swinging at Tommy, so he's up 4. There we go. -1 is going to deal a damage. And action 3 will run that back. Still up 4. +1 puts another damage on him. That will do it for Nathaniel. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Nathaniel is... oh, this is bad. He's going to have to put 1 damage on Randall to take him out, and then take 1 damage. We need to take Tommy out next round. Unfortunately, Nathaniel's also 2 from dead himself, so there are plenty of effects in the encounter deck that could do that. So that's it for the turn. That's it for the enemy phase. I just reset everything. So now let's move back up top for the upkeep phase. Nathaniel gains 1 resource, goes to 9. Akachi gains 1 and goes to 3. Nathaniel will draw. Fighting Lessons, which we saw earlier. Akachi will draw. Eldritch Initiation. 1 cost to play. Lore, Will on Commit. For each arcane slot you have, draw 1 card, max 5. For each filled arcane slot you have, choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Right now there would be a draw 2, discard 1. Mythos phase, 4th Doom on the agenda. Nathaniel will draw. Lurking Deep One. Oh, this is bad. 2/2/4. We saw this earlier. Take a damage. We need to kill both of those enemies now, or Nathaniel's going to be defeated. Akachi will draw. From the Depths. Oh, fun. If the amalgam is in the depths, put it into play engaged with you. Otherwise, place the amalgam in the depths, and from the depths gains Surge. So that pulls the amalgam back, and we're done with the... I think we're done with the red key, so we can give that to the amalgam. That is very unfortunate, but nothing we can do there. Well, are we in a spot of trouble now, or can we get out of this, do I think? Unfortunately, we're going to need to take 3 attacks with Nathaniel here, so let's say we get down to business with his boxing gloves. As much as I would love to be able to interrogate and discover some clues on the location, I don't have time to do that. Nathaniel's action 1, he's going to have to punch at Tommy. Unfortunately, he's only doing 1 damage with his attack. Actually, he's going to be doing 1 damage with all of his attacks anyway. And we're in a position where if any of these miss, he's going to be defeated this round, most likely by damage. Yeah, it's going to be by damage. So, up 4 on Tommy. That's a +1, so 1 down, 1 to go. And to see if we can get any help with this, I am going to exhaust the boxing gloves to see if we have any spirit events left in our deck. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I doubt it because we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of it. First up is Daring, which we can't use. Next up, if it bleeds, which wouldn't be useful on which wouldn't have been useful on Tommy anyway. Next, Boxing gloves. Can't take that. Next. Daring. Then Greet Wagner and Safeguard. Another whiff. Greet would be very useful right now, but alas, we can't take her anyway. And it doesn't look like we have any spirit events left in the deck anyway. Alright. Action 2, Punchy Punchy on the deep one. Up 4 again. Cultist is -2, which is definitely not enough to make us fail. So the Lurking Deep one takes a damage. Action 3, run it back. -1 takes out the Lurking Deep one. So at least Nathaniel isn't going to just bite it by damage this turn. That will do it for Nathaniel. Now let's move over to Akachi. Time to see if Akachi can give the Amalgam the slip for action 1. Hopefully by 2 to get that red key back. Tentacle Touched will not give her the Amalgam the slip. Action 2, she'll run that back though. Cultist will also fail, and she'll take a damage because her location's partially is flooded. Action 3, we have to try to evade it again. Cultist once again will defeat. Cultist will now defeat Akachi by physical trauma. By damage, because she fails and the location's flooded, so the Amalgam will move over to Nathaniel. And how do keys work when an investigator's been defeated? I believe... I believe the... place each of their keys on the location. So the red and yellow keys, the yellow and purple keys are both going on the location. I'm moving the camera around a little bit, but I'm going to put a damage marker there just to remind me that Akachi has been defeated by damage. That will unfortunately do it for Akachi in the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Nathaniel will also be defeated by damage because he's getting attacked by the Amalgam since the engagement from Akachi brought it over to him. So that's the end of the scenario. Let's move back up top for scenario resolution. We're all set for scenario resolution, so let's jump in.
If no resolution was reached because each investigator was defeated, you sputter and cough up an entire lungful of dirty water and sand. Cold, dark seawater laps at your skin as you spit the last of the bitter salt taste back into the rolling tide. A pair of warm hands shoves you onto your back and pulls you up into a sitting position. Thank goodness you're alive, someone says. Even through this strained voice, you can hear a rhythmic Indian accent and the unwavering confidence of a trained professional. As your eyes adjust, they take in a sky of dark crimson, the full moon hanging just below the blackened sun. We have no time to spare. Come on, get up. You wipe stinging salt water from your eyes, your strength returning slowly. Your savior is a woman with long, raven black hair. Her tattered trench coat has seen better days, and bruises splash across her dirt-covered skin. You seem confused. Why are you looking at me like that? The stranger asks. Each investigator earns experience equal to the Victory X value of each card in the Victory display. Record this experience under Unspent Experience in your campaign log, but do not spend any of it yet. You will be instructed to spend this experience at a later time. Proceed to Interlude 1, Puzzle Pieces.
While I'm setting up for Interlude 1 Puzzle Pieces, this is one of the reasons what I really will admit to right now not really liking Innsmouth Conspiracy. The unspent experience thing kind of makes it a little bit hard to manage with, especially running it on the channel. So this is going to be a very challenging experience for me to manage this campaign on the channel. But let's go ahead and jump in to Interlude 1, Puzzle Pieces.
Interlude 1, Puzzle Pieces. You have no idea who this woman is or how she knows you, yet she seems comfortable and familiar with you. You strain your memory trying to think of how you might have met, but it's no use. You're certain she is a complete stranger. Having woken up in a cold, wet prison with no memories, you aren't feeling very sociable. Your fear and distrust must show because the woman backs off and narrows her eyes. What is it? What's wrong? You respond by asking the woman if you know her. You truly don't remember? Well, that's going to complicate things. What do you recall? Do you remember anything? You relate to the woman the flashes of recollection that you experienced earlier. Check the Memories Recovered section of the campaign log. Read each of the sections below that apply to your situation. Then proceed to the following text.
Okay, you shut it for a second. So the memories we got were a meeting with Thomas Dawson and a decision to stick together. So that should be this.
If a meeting with Thomas Dawson is listed under Memories Recovered, you put 2 and 2 together and ask if the woman is Miss Harper. Ah, so you do remember me, she asks with a playful smirk, but you shake your head in response and explain that you only remember being hired by a man named Thomas Dawson to find her. But that was... Oh, you have forgotten a lot, haven't you? Speaking of Dawson, where is he? Did you see him down here? Your thoughts turn to the twisted, mangled face that triggered your flashback. Agent Harper's expression turns dour as she watches your eyes. I see. I wish he hadn't come to this forsaken town. Those brutes are going to pay for this. You ask who she thinks is responsible for Dawson's death, and she raises her eyebrows in response. Right, you don't remember. As far as I know, the last time anybody saw either of you was just before you visited the Esoteric Order of Dagon. Draw your own conclusions. The conspiracy deepens. Each investigator records 1 additional experience under Unspent Experience.
Okay. No. All right, so our other memory that we got was a decision to stick together.
If a decision to stick together is listed under Memories Recovered, so you and Dawson were looking for me together then. Interesting. She considers this for a moment. I guess even the extraordinary Captain Dawson can be rattled from time to time. It's somewhat gratifying to know he cared that much about finding me. Still, her gaze wanders toward the horizon. All right, Dawson. I'll make sure you didn't die in vain. I'll burn this whole town to the ground if I have to. The conspiracy deepens. Each investigator records 1 additional experience under Unspent Experience.
Alright, that was all of our memories that we got, so let's go into the ending.
You point to the strange crimson horizon behind Agent Harper and note aloud the alignment of the sun and the moon. That began just after you and Agent Dawson entered the Order's headquarters, she explains. That was almost 3 days ago. I have no idea what it means, but I can't imagine it is anything good. All of Innsmouth's been locked tight lately. Not a soul in sight. You're lucky I figured out where to look for you. Your mind reels. The last thing you remember before waking up in that dank pit was enjoying a pleasant late summer's eve in Arkham. Now you're in another town altogether, and your memory is filled with gaping holes. You wonder aloud what the date is, and Agent Harper replies, It's the 24th of September. I don't know when exactly you arrived in Innsmouth or how much of your memory is missing. Isn't there anything else you remember? Anything at all? The water sloshes against your feet as you struggle to remember. In minutes, the tide has risen several inches and there's no sign of it slowing down. You fix your gaze on the woman who stands before you. Her weary eyes, her disheveled clothes, the red marks on her wrists, and something triggers in your recollection. Wake up. We're almost there. The memory lurks at the precipice of your consciousness, threatening to draw you into the darkness. Hey, wake up, I said. You clench your forehead as searing pain bounces throughout your skull. Wake up, damn it! The darkness pulls at the edges of your vision. More memories come flooding back. Proceed to Scenario 2, The Vanishing of Elena Harper.
That's where we're going next week to continue the campaign. As for what's coming up on the channel, what else is coming up on the channel? Wednesday we're playing Aeon's End from Indie Boards and Cards. And Saturday we're continuing Mystical Munchies out of the Cooking with Deadpool cookbook as we cook chicharrones. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.